All right. So we have a new episodes out. Uh we have a guest here. His name is
What's up, y'all? I'm Rose. Go by Prince Rose as well. Hope everyone's doing good. Everyone's doing well. I'm glad to be here. Eb, Jordan, what's
Yeah,
up?
and your co-host Jordan. I'm back, of course, every single week or twice a week, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation. Honestly,
yeah, and today we're going to be talking about Demon Slayer. There's often a lot of discourse on why it's popular. A lot of people feel like it comes down to um ufotable and their animation quality, which is true. Like, let's
Very.
be honest, like every season Demon Slayer comes out, it's one of the best animated, like, especially like fight sequence, whether it's like Tanjiro versus Rui in season 1, the Spider Kid,
So
or
beautiful.
right, or which I have something to say about that, but we'll get to that. There's actually kind of funny.
Mhm.
Or who else was it? Oh yeah, Rengoku versus Akaza in the Mugen Train movie. That was crazy. Or even finally, my personal favorite, but he's also one of my favorite characters, Tengen versus Gyotaro.
Ooh.
It is some amazing fights, but I feel like there's more to Demon Slayer than that.
Absolutely.
Specifically, what we're really going to be talking about is the theme of hurt people, hurt people. I think this is the main thing that we'll be exploring on why Demon Slayer is so popular. So, hope you guys enjoy this episode. Prince Rose, I brought you on because when I wanted to do this episode with you, I never told you this, Jordan. But the reason I want Prince Rose on this episode is because the first person I thought of was him, because I remember he has the Komodo earrings. He doesn't have them on right now, but he has
Oh,
the
so
Komodo earrings.
okay, so you were the one with
I
those
got him.
Tanjiro
I got
earrings.
him. I got him. I got him. I
I want to
got
see how they look like. Ah,
Jeez, this man had them ready.
I wear them like I just wear them. Yeah, I like it. So I
how do you
literally just
rock them? Would you wear like a white top and black pants and?
anything. That's literally what I'm wearing right now. I was actually gonna put on my kimono. I have I have Tanjiro's.
Okay.
I have the whole Demon Slayer outfit, but I didn't want to make too much noise with my son sleeping downstairs. But yeah, I rock this with anything, man. Like I really I call myself Black Tanjiro. So
Own it. Own it.
this
Yeah, I like it.
is my thing, yo. Those Hanafuda earrings.
Okay. So I just want to open up the conversation in terms of, I'd like to ask both of you guys. I don't know whichever one want to go first. Why do you like? What got you into watching Demon Slayer, and why do you like it?
Hmm. I'll take the first one on this one.
All right.
Um, me, what was it that got me into it? I think I stumbled across it. I don't remember exactly how I stumbled across it, but I just knew that the vibe that it was giving me was like I was a really big Inuyasha fan back in the day, right? So
Facts.
it just gave me that vibe that Inuyasha gave me in terms of the art style being so beautiful, but then also the I guess the context of the characters' plight, I guess,
Mm,
um also mirrored its the animation beauty. You know what I mean? Because
okay.
I realized that there's so much depth in
No one's
terms of
getting robbed. No one has to worry. Go on.
in terms of like I realized straight off the bat in the first episode how much potential there was for the depth of Tanjiro's character, and that just also reminded me of all of the different things that are under the surface of Inuyasha. Even though a lot of people think that Inuyasha is a mid-type anime, and I wouldn't even argue that it isn't in certain ways, but
That's a
like
romance anime. It's not even a shonen. It's a
I
romance.
know that's what I'm saying. You know what I
That's,
mean? And
that's a
like
lot.
so exactly. So yeah, I just felt like it really pulled me in that aspect, but then it's like whoa, this is like the new and improved modern spin
Mm,
on that to me.
right,
That's what it
right, right.
felt like at first, fighting demons and like you have Songo and them as demon slayers, and this is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I
That's
get
true.
to
I
see
yo, I
in
forgot. You're
you know what I'm
right.
saying? So this is to me, it was like this might have all been within the same 200-300 years. Who knows?
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
So
okay.
I have my own I had my own head canon. I was forming it, I guess.
This guy.
Where I'm like, it's the same universe, so I'm gonna love this.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? So
That's
that's what
fair.
it got. That's how I got into it. You know what I mean? And
Okay,
those are the reasons why I really liked it. I guess.
Okay.
Man, this guy gave context.
Right.
For me, it was way shallower than that. When it came out, I didn't watch it because I have this philosophy where I'm not gonna watch something too popular because I hate following mainstream. And I hate that. I can't watch mainstream stuff. But now I'm starting to break out of that shell, and I'm willing to give these shows all a chance.
Mhm.
So when I came across this anime, I think it was a year after it came out. I don't know if the anime came out during the pandemic, right? Did it come out during the pandemic? Because I remember that's when it blew up.
Not too far from it. Not
Yeah.
too far from it. No.
Okay.
It was close.
A year after I came across the anime, well, of course, the number one thing that struck me was the art, right? The way the animation looked, the style, the way waterbending looked whenever Tanjiro performed it. It was very clear. It looked like,
Beautiful.
although my computer was I think my computer was like 480p, but the style, the art style looked like it was 4K. But my computer was running on 480p. So, that shows that they put a lot of time and a lot of work into the art. And I can appreciate the effort like that, right? But the thing that made me stay longer was the theme of forgiveness that Tanjiro
Interesting.
often showed towards demon. So whenever you saw a demon, whenever one of the demon slayer would see a demon, automatically they wouldn't question whether or not this demon was good or bad, right? No, actually, yeah, they wouldn't question that. They would automatically assume that the demon is bad, therefore I need to kill it. But Tanjiro's approach was much more different in that he often considered whether or not this person had a story, and is there room for open dialogue? If there is, then can I forgive this person and then try to find some sort of common ground so that they can heal and go off in peace, right? I think that one of the motivator behind that is obviously his sister, right? His sister's a demon. So for him to just find out a demon who's probably committed bad and then killing them, I think it goes against his principle, only because he would always look towards his sister and say, well, if I do that by that logic, then anyone can just kill my sister.
Exactly.
Right. So that's the way, like, I think very hard whenever I watch these type of shows.
Yeah.
So the concept of forgiveness really made me stay longer because he had a different approach in dealing with people who often hurt others. So I think that's the reason why I really like this show.
Awesome. Great introspection already.
I like that. He said it was shallow. What was shallow?
I know, right? Like there's nothing shallow about
it was shallow. It was shallow because if it was not for the art, I wouldn't have watched it.
Hey man, it is what it is. Like it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's not.
The art got my foot in the door.
For sure.
If the art had the same style as Shippuden during the first few episodes, listen, I made the transition from Naruto to Shippuden. The first few episodes of Shippuden was terrible. I said, why does Naruto look so lanky like this?
It was
why
jarring.
Does he look like a dweeb? Why does why does he look like there's no depth, there's no life to the character? So if the art style was like that, I wouldn't have watched Demon Slayer. I don't care how popular it was. So I'm pretty shallow in that aspect.
Well, to be honest with you, and this goes into my reason of watching the show, I don't think the animation studio Ufotable. It's not Ufotable. They're actually not Ufotable. It's Ufotable.
It's not Ufotable?
No, it's Ufotable. So because long story, when they were creating their studio, they went to they would regularly go to this cafe, and the table looked like it was a UFO. So that's why they took the name UFO table. I thought it was Ufotable too. You know, you're like, Japan.
It sounds cool. Ufotable.
Exactly. No, UFO table. Yeah. I don't think he would have picked up the show if it did look like Naruto. No offense to Kishimoto or anything. I think he made a great show, but like Demon Slayer looks very beautiful. And so for me, the reason I started watching the show is not a lot of people know this. I'm a big fan of the Fate series. You know, the Fate Stay Night series.
Oh, Fate's sick.
So-
I haven't finished it, but I only watched like 2 of them, but it's sick. I love Fate.
Exactly. And so they did my favorite path of the series, because it's like with Emi Yoshido, there's 3 paths, and
Yeah.
they did the I still remember when they got the licensing for Unlimited Blade Works, and I was like, dude, we did a movie. How could this be any good? And boy, was I blown away with that. I was like, we were just talking about Bleach, right? Or
Yeah.
with the 1,000-Year Blood War. This was the first time I watched an anime. Just the prologue, not episode 1. The series had 2 prologues. The prologue, I was like, I remember calling my boy, my best man, for my wedding. I was like, bro, is this a movie? Because I was genuinely confused. Like, I'm not even trying to boost the show. When I saw the prologue, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a series, but this looks like a movie. Is this a movie or what? And then another prologue episode came. I'm like, oh, this is the flex. This is what we're doing. Every episode is gonna look like this.
Fire.
This is what we're doing. Okay, all right, I'm with it now. Just the fights were ridiculous. It looked like a movie. And so ever since then, I've been like UFO Table. I've always had my eye on them. So when I heard that they got the license for another anime, which was Demon Slayer, I was like, I'm gonna just from the quality that you guys already did and you gave me,
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the show. And so, and yeah, as we all said, it's very pretty. Like this, the water style. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this little fun fact. You know the little elements and stuff that we see.
Mm-hmm.
It's imagination. It's not real. Like they don't actually.
Oh
like,
yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Wait. Not you that?
It's not real.
there's no fire and there's no water. There's
no
none-
lightning.
They're just those are their sword techniques, but like
Exactly.
just like you said, that's the imagination.
Exactly. It moves like as if that's the case. So for instance, like water style, the reason it's water style is because
So
water is
fluid.
fluid. So your body bends and twists in many different ways. Like you see how whenever Tanjiro does water techniques, he's always spinning or like kind of twirling and whatnot. That's the idea of water being fluid, like
It
a
just
whirlpool.
flows.
Or fire style, it's very aggressive, it's very forceful. So you saw like Rengoku fighting, he was doing very forceful swings. It even like in terms of water moves, sometimes they would do multiple hits. Fire, just one swing, very forceful. And then lightning, you know, Zenitsu, it's quick. So a lot of the movement that you're doing is with your legs.
And linear.
Exactly, very linear, very straight, just like a bolt of lightning. So it's not real. Sorry, guys. That's just ruined it for so many people.
But honestly, I think that's better. You know what I mean? Because it's like they are still moving at speeds that are, you know, like crazy. And the fact that they don't actually have lightning or fire or water to help them move in those ways is to me more impressive.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But
so
that's perspective.
No, it's true. And that show it makes it, and that's a good aspect of the show. It there's always like, because the demons can regenerate their body parts and everything, especially when you look at the upper 6, like they can regenerate their bodies very easily. And the only ways demons can lose to cut off their neck. But like if you as a demon, so if you get slapped, if you lose your arm, whatever, it creates a great sense of tension in the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason why I stuck with the show, after, you know, seeing some of the crazy fight scenes, like for instance, you know, Tenjiro's fight with the hand demon, that was great. But I really appreciate the show. What made the show stick out to me is the fact that they sat in the moment. They allowed you to sit in the moment of the tragedy of the demons. You know, most shows like you only hear like Aizen's backstory in Bleach at best, and then Espada. You're not gonna hear about all the hollows that they killed, all the Shinigami they may have died. We're not going to hear all their backstories, but like the Demon Slayer, just a hand demon that only came in for like what,
2 episodes, I think,
maybe total, because he came, I think, in the latter half.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Exactly. Like, so maybe like what, 20 minutes total. He gets like a 10-minute backstory, and I was like, oh, this is different. Like I've never seen that before. And then they did it. So that was in the 5th episode. Then they did it again in the 5th. Sorry, that was they did it again with Kyogai, which was around like the 11th episode. Once again, the tambourine demon. They did it again with him. It wasn't as long, it was like a couple minutes, but they spent time with him. And then Rui, that's when I was like, okay, this show is different. With Rui, the spider demon that was part of the lower 12, number 4, I think.
I like
we
Rui.
got a whole episode
Yeah.
on his backstory, on being ill and losing his parents and so on and so forth. And that's when I was like, okay, this is what the show's about. And then
not only did he get a full backstory like that, they preemptively they gave slight like build up to his family.
Yes,
you know what I mean, before they even got into him.
Yes, so, that's like, true. Even the episode with the pretend family, you're right.
Yeah, you know, so that's even brings even more depth. Sorry to
no, that's okay. No, but that's when I was like, okay, this show's very different. The fact that like, because the biggest, like most anime episode 25, you're gonna get the crazy fight, a bit of a epilogue, and then have to wait till next season. Demon Slayer, they gave you the best fight in episode 19. Then episode 20 was this whole episode of his backstory and his tragedy.
Yeah.
And then the last few episodes is a training arc. Like that's not very non-conventional for a shonen series. So like this is one that the show really came on my radar. And then what really solidified it as like a show I'm going to be enjoying until it finishes would be like episode 11 of season 2 with Gyotaro and Daki, you know, the demon siblings.
Yeah.
The episode before with Tengen versus Gyotaro, that was crazy.
Super crazy.
Every time I still watch this, you know, when they're both fighting and they're swinging their scythes and everything,
it's so tense.
Scream.
It's so tense. It's so tense. I didn't know that it would be. Okay, people might be mad at me for this, bro, but like the tension was higher, and it was actually more emotional to me than Rengoku versus Akaza.
So I actually wanted to kind of talk on that. So I watched the series again, and to be honest with you, by the time you get to the end of season 2, you're like, have you gone back to watch Tanjiro versus Rui recently?
No, I haven't gone back to watch it again. Like I played the game, so like
fair enough.
In that sense,
Chronicles.
Yeah, that's probably the last time I went back to that fight specifically.
Right.
But yeah, sorry. What?
It's like I'm watching the fight again. I remember like we were blown away by the animation and everything. It's super mid. It's super mid. It's so mid. Like I was also like, wow. Like comparatively, I'm like, this is trash compared to Gyotaro versus Tengen or Rengoku versus Akaza. Even Akaza versus Rengoku, not as good as Tengen versus Gyotaro. And I'm just like, yo, if you guys keep doing this, like the next fight's gonna be ridiculous. And I'm gonna look back at Tengen versus Gyotaro and be like, yo, this is kind of mid, to be honest with you.
They better do a movie first, because if it wasn't for the movie, I don't think that season 2 is as upgrades as much as you're noticing without the money that comes from the movie.
Fair. That's fair.
You know what I mean?
I know they're doing like a premiere for like the Swordsmith arc, but I also want to say this. If you guys think Demon Slayer action, like yes, Gyotaro versus Tengen is crazy. If you think that's crazy, go watch the Fate series. Go watch the Fate Stay Night series on Unlimited Blade Works, and watch what's it called?
Apocalypse.
No, that one's good, but that was A1 Studios. I'm trying to remember. It's like Heaven. It's like Flower Heaven, something like I can't remember, but it's a 3-part movie. If you watch Berserker versus Saber, it's
crazy.
It's crazy. You're like, and then even like the last fight with Saber Alter versus Rider, it blows it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it blows Demon Slayer out of the water. Like if you guys really want to see UFO Table when they're really like on their A game, it's watch the Fate series, especially the movies. You're like, what? Crazy.
Okay.
But yeah. This is where like this is when I started really enjoying Demon Slayer. Is this the idea that I took away from the series was that hurt people, and the demons were they all have a sort of trauma, a sort of pain that caused them to become demons. And
Mhm.
you can really, the thing that I also picked up watching the show again is that Muzan, who has his own insecurities as well, he takes advantage of other people's insecurities when they become demons.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I can. First of all, of course, you said a lot, but I think I can agree with you when you say that the show was different compared to other shows in that they would do 10 minutes background on a villain,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll kind of just show exactly their story. I think the reason why that's very powerful is because usually we make the assumption that people who just do evil are evil,
Yeah.
and there's nothing else that we can speak about more. But I think that people forget the fact that they're also people, right? They're also people,
Right. They were
and
humans at one point. Mhm.
yeah, they're human. I think
And
the
I would
reason,
argue that they kind of still are.
yeah, yeah. So
Like
that's a strong argument because
they're
we could
two
look
things
towards.
at once.
Mm, I That's a strong argument. I think I can also agree with that because we could just look towards Nezuko, right? The fact
Nezuko.
that
Mhm.
Yeah, Nezuko. So the fact that Tanjiro is still treating, this demon as a human with so much compassion, and then also along their friend is treating Nezuko like a human being. That means it demonstrates that other demons can also be treated as a human. So if you can do it to one, then you could definitely do it to others. But the thing why I can also agree with that point on sort of just providing the backstory is that the writer is saying this essentially when you think about it, that
Mhm.
these are people.
Mhm.
Yes, they did evil, but they're still people, and you can
Mhm.
still accept them. You can still accept their past, and they can still change. And I think that's a powerful message because the way Tanjiro behaves, he even accepts other demons, not just his kid
Oh,
sister.
the doctor.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah,
doctor,
yeah.
right? He even accepts other demons. So that's very powerful. Whereas other demon slayers, they would look towards demons and be like, no, we have to kill them. I don't care about the backstory. We have to kill them because they're evil
Mm.
people. They don't have a say no more. But it all goes back, if you were to relate this to real life experience, that how should we treat criminals? Do we just once they commit a crime, are they criminals forever? Can they not change? Are they not people anymore? Right. So it's a very complicated issue, but I think
Mhm.
that the last thing we should do is dehumanize them and think that they're not people any longer.
Absolutely. I think that that funny, not to break away from Demon Slayer, but to bring a reference, I think that's a big part of what My Hero as a series stands on,
Mm,
is
I
that
agree.
concept, and like just making sure that people understand that the thing that is so ugly that you want to call crime or whatever is actually the most human part of society, because it
mhm,
is our everyday actings as humans that cause these
Mhm.
situations for these quote unquote villains or demons to go through, to then have an experience that leads them down to a certain path of them making choices to do certain things in a certain mindset. And it's like I said, that's why I kind of feel like they are still human, they're just demonistic,
mhm.
or demonic, or whatever you want to call it. And like in the show, they're actually demons, but like I
Yes.
guess to translate it in real world, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you're still making a human decision,
Mhm.
even
Mhm.
though it's bad and it's looked at as, it's only called demonic because you're trying to put it so far in a spectrum to get someone,
Categorize it.
you know what I mean? But it's
Right.
still within our scope.
Right.
So it's just a very interesting dynamic. And again, I agree. I like the fact that they bring that within Demon Slayer. It definitely holds me for sure.
Yeah, you guys
That-
actually sorry, no, you want to say something, Jordan?
No, I was gonna say that's very interesting. That's one interesting way to see it on a spectrum. The reason why I say that is because remember the doctor's trying to find a way to turn off of Tanjiro's request to turn Nezuko back to human.
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we view it as a spectrum, then it makes a lot of sense. So these people just happen to be far off to the extreme, but once they find a way to turn them back human, then they're back to human, right? So
Mhm.
you can kind of, yeah, that spectrum analogy really makes sense. I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, you guys both make me think of this quote from Tanjiro, where this was in episode 10. When they're fighting Gyotaro and Daki, and Tanjiro's trying to cut off Gyotaro's head, and then he said, "At every turn, one false step, I could have found myself in that same situation
Mhm.
as Gyotaro. I was lucky enough to remain a human, but there could have been a future in which we were both demons, both him and Nezuko." And that just shows a lot. There's just so much layers in terms of what Tanjiro said, because like really and truly, like when you look at people in jails, people who've committed wrongs, people who've committed crimes, people who've hurt others, or as like I said, the same quote went over and over again, which I got from Rondell: "Hurt people,
Mhm.
is that everyone's human, and it doesn't take. I was even watching a interview with the guy who plays Punisher, John Berthel, and he was talking about what's his name, the guy who used to be in the old Transformers movies,
Shia
Shia
LaBeouf.
LaBeouf. And he was talking about like him, being allegedly an abusive husband. And the thing that he was just kind of more or less saying is that like it's all these little small decisions that we make that could just completely change our lives,
Yeah.
both good and bad.
Agree.
And
Mhm.
once you realize how human everybody is, it really changes your perspective. I have a young person who is in holding because of a small situation where they're playing with a gun that they had,
Mhm.
and someone may have passed away from it. Right? It doesn't take much for
Yeah.
your life to completely change. Like we hear it all the time, in with Batman and Joker and so on and so forth, or Punisher. It's just one bad day. It just
But it's the truth.
it's just a few things, and when we tend to think like, oh, those people are over there in jail, or they're homeless or whatever, because they didn't make the right decisions in life. And it's like, you're right, maybe they could have made better decisions, and some of those decisions may have been right, but things didn't play out that way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, like, great example, you finally get hired for a new position, you're hitting close to six figures, and then a pandemic happens and they let you go because you're not past 6 months probation.
You know.
Now
But
you're
not only,
homeless.
but not only that, it's also it's also saying, well, that can also be you.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. And
Think about it for
as a
example.
matter of fact, it is you.
Yeah,
All right, go ahead.
yeah, it could probably, exactly, it is you. It probably is you in the future, right? So it's saying that, okay, you could try to assume this more high ground and say, well, you're on the street, do better, clean up, and whatever the case may be. But 5 years from now, you could actually be looking at yourself. So essentially what it's saying
Facts.
is that just remain humble, just be humble.
Mhm.
Don't try to just see things as whether it's black or white, because it's much more grayer than that, right? It's much more complicated. We just don't know exactly what people are going through, which is why the last thing you want to do is judge someone's situation. And that's the thing why that's also one of the most important thing that I often tell my friend, that whenever they try to ask me for an opinion on how someone act, I would always say, well, I'm not in a position to judge because I don't know the person. But if you don't feel secure enough around that person, then I think that you know what you should do.
Mhm.
So it's kind of giving them a hint, but not telling them exactly what to do, because I'm not in a position to dictate someone's lifestyle, right? I'm not even in a position to criticize someone's lifestyle. Like you could be doing some of the most dangerous thing ever, but I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, there are probably conditions which set him up or led him to that lifestyle, but
Yeah.
is not to blame him, or is not to, and it's also definitely not to give him an excuse for why he's committed those crimes,
Right.
but it's just to understand that there's actually some external factors and internal factors which lead people to behave the way they do. So the last thing you want to do is definitely judge people.
For sure.
That's facts, right? Like, it's important to look at people, to just as we spoke about in our Mob Psycho episode, right? You want to meet people where they're at and understand and
Yeah.
try to get a better understanding of their circumstances.
Mhm.
And Jordan wants Jordan. I feel like this is like, I feel like you're the one running this episode because you just be spitting facts right now.
No. That's all you, man. You're setting up the foundation right for us to thrive. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, you're making me think of another when I don't know if you guys remember when Rui when Gyu took out the water Hashira took out Rui, and Rui was crawling towards Tanjiro, and you know Gyu was saying like, yo, what are you doing? Why are you showing compassion to demons?
It's like kill, yeah.
Exactly, like they're monsters. And Tanjiro rebutted saying they're not hideous monsters at all. Demons are hopeless creatures. They're tragic creatures. And I feel that that's the main idea, like I said, that the creator's trying to convey in terms of how we look at other people, how we judge other people for their circumstances. Even and just kind of going back on the idea of circumstances, Muzan, he's also the type of person to take advantage of people's circumstances.
He's
right?
a pimp.
You know, Rui ended up killing his parents out of self-defense, and then we see that's when Muzan was able to twist his perception of reality, saying, you know, your parents didn't love you, they weren't there for you. And you see him do this with other characters, right? Like Susamuraru,
Susamaru.
Yeah, the girl with the tambourine balls.
Yeah.
Even he was able to manipulate her childish mind to thinking that she can join the 12 Kizuki, right? So there's always an aspect in which he takes advantage of people's mentality and their traumas to use them for his own benefit. And that happened in real life, right? Like you see so many young people join gangs or you know, you see child soldiers. This is an example of that. You know, you're in a bad situation, and you can have someone good help you out of that circumstance, which is, I think, what we see in terms of being the direct contrast to the demons of the 12 Kizuki, which is the Hashira and the demon slayers, right? They were in a place of tragedy, but you saw that they had someone to kind of pull them out of it. Like, for instance, with Tanjiro, it was like, I was thinking about, I'm like, wow, this is the only time we see good Giyu like get upset. Like when he was like yelling at Tanjiro, like, yo, I understand your circumstances, but if you want something to change, you have to get up and do it.
Yeah.
There's no space for you feeling sorry for yourself. If you want to save your family, if you want to save your sister, you got to take action right now, right? And then from there, that's what allowed him to meet like Urodaki. You saw how the other Hashira with their circumstances, you saw how they were able to overcome their circumstances or come to terms with their circumstances, I should say. And that's what really put them on the road to, I guess you could say, healing and being better people. But just same way as you can have someone good be in your life to help you out of these bad circumstances, you can also have someone like Muzan who's just like, yo, yeah, these people hurt you. You should hate them. That you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You said, now I want to play on the last part you said, and I want to ask you both a question here. So you just said how you have these evil people doing evil stuff. So the way I see it is like this: if they're able to commit such great evil, then the reverse is also true, meaning that they're able to create great good deeds for society, right? So my question is this for you two: do you think that a villain is nothing but a broken hero?
I could see that, yeah. And
yeah.
Granted, I know you're still catching up in Demon Slayer. I think Prince Rose, I think you're caught up. Sorry, no, you're still catching up in My Hero Academia. Prince Rose, I think you're caught up, right? Or
in My Hero, I read the manga. I'm pretty close.
Okay, all right. So close. Like, you know, they're actually, you know, dancing with the idea of what's a hero and what's a villain right now in the series.
Yeah. And that's why I was like looking down when I was like, I'm like,
Go on. I definitely want to hear Rose's opinion on this.
I'll let Rose go, and then I have a quote to read.
All right.
Sorry. Ask the specific question again.
Yeah. Do you think a villain is a broken hero?
Do I think a villain is a broken hero? To answer that question, just like you're saying, I think that you got to go into what is a hero. You know, what is a hero in the first place? I think that a villain isn't a broken hero. A villain is what a hero was before they became a hero.
Say it again.
Okay. A villain is what a hero was before they became a hero and got broken before they could become a hero. You know what I mean? They didn't complete their hero's journey, so they're on a different path to whatever it is, and I don't call that villainy. I it's just misalignment. You know, and that's just going to cause a lot of dissonance, and that dissonance is going to take shape in whatever form your decisions allow. You know what I mean? So it's going to show up in whatever it's going to show up as.
Right.
So yeah, and in a similar light, I don't think that heroes are heroes either, because I don't think that you should glorify or really, like, people look at it as heroic because they would think and hope that that's what people would do for another person. And if that is the case, you shouldn't get praised for it. You should just be like that. So, you know what I mean?
It should be the standard.
Yeah.
You know, and in that sense, I understand why, what's his name? Stain looks at heroes the way that he does. I understand why.
No, explain Stain's perspective.
Stain is looking at heroes as frauds, and none of them actually do it for the sake of just doing it, other than All Might. That's why he respects him so much. You know what I mean? And I also feel it's not the same, but there's something similar-ish with Akaza, in a sense where he's looking for the person that's willing to go so far into a completely different path than what people call the standards, that he's looking for. He wants
to go beyond.
He's like, yo, come be a demon, because once you're a demon, you can do anything. It's not about being a demon, it's about doing anything. And I think that really showed in the way that Akaza actually died, because he
don't fall for the series.
my bad. I want. Thank you.
Let him cook, man.
No, that's good. I don't want to spoil nothing. I don't want to spoil.
But I know what you're talking about. I followed the manga, and I know, like, a lot of the stuff that happens. And I think that's a really good point with Akaza. But you know, we haven't gone to Akaza's backstory yet.
Yeah.
But Jordan, I really appreciate you saying that. You're making me. You just got my brain going. Got my.
No. He got my brain going. So okay. So let me understand his point, because I like to simplify things, you know, because he really spoke deeply, man. So basically, it is by default people are on a hero's journey.
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell.
And what happened was, I guess in terms of his goal, he just got misaligned and he fell off of that journey. But then after that, he just has to find his way back. Is that what you're saying?
Or
you got misaligned, right?
In whatever way finding that way back is. Sometimes because of the path that you walk, it might finding your way back might not mean that you turn into a hero. Sometimes it's just reconciliation with your condition and just accepting it. And like that's similar with the fact that with Daki and Gyutaro, they didn't have the chance to make right for their wrongs. You know what I mean? They're done for. But what was cool is that they had each other. Fact. You know what I mean? So and bringing into the whole theme again, the forgiveness is like Tanjiro brought their attention to that in their final moments. You know, and I think that's it's very noteworthy and right in alignment with that whole theme, because no one told him to do that. No one has been telling him to act this way and show this compassion to these demons. And at the same time, no one's praising him for it either. So I completely understand Gyu's perspective. You know what I mean? And I actually respect it with what you said, because he's like, you know what? I don't see eye to eye with you, but because you're willing to have your own perspective, I will respect it if you're going to be the one who's acting on it, because I'm not going to act on it for you. You know?
So speaking, and of course, and then we're going to get back on track here.
Mhm.
But so then you said there's no such thing, because you mentioned act. So you said there's no such thing as a hero. If I understand that really well, you're saying that there's such thing as heroic act,
Mhm.
which is something that you're supposed to be doing, but there's no such thing. There shouldn't be a label called hero, right?
I think that at a certain point the label becomes redundant. Not that there's no point for
You're
it.
spitting right now. Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's the same thing with like religion. It will become a religion rather than an actual spiritual practice.
So okay, that was a really good analogy. So it's where you're supposed to, by default, seek that connection with the Almighty. You're not supposed to put a label and act around that label, like, which is religion here. Because the moment it becomes heavily centralized, the moment it becomes centered around the religious aspect, then it takes away from that personal relationship with the Almighty. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in a sense, for sure, because it blocks out the possibility of other things. The moment you call something one thing, it can't be other things. If this is a chair, it's not a table.
It's not a table. You know why I agree with this statement on this is because think about it, for example, right? Whenever you put a label on something, then by default there's tends to be a hierarchy, right? Okay, so if I'm a hero, then there's something greater than a hero, possibly a god, who knows, right? But it's like, okay, so I did good here, so now because I'm now what people may be considered as a hero, I'm supposed to act like a hero. So it kind of takes away from my individuality.
Yeah.
And that I can't act any other way around. So that's the reason why I can understand with the label.
For sure. And your individuality is what made you a hero. So if you start losing that, what are you?
Exactly.
You're what people tell you what to be. And that's the reason why, like, when people say, I'm like, oh, you know, Barry, you're such a good person. I'm like, I'm just me. I'm trying to be a good person. That's as best as I can do. But really and truly, I'm just a person, just like everybody else.
But then remember, also it robs you, right? It robs you.
What I say.
Like, it's not fair
very
to
liberating.
you. You're right. It's not fair to you because it robs you of any, for example, shortcomings that you may have in the future. If someone, for example, was to see you smoking, they'll be like, I'm not, you know, some people may view this as good or bad, but from a Christian perspective, because I'm Christian, if someone else was to see you smoking, then they'll be like, wait, he's supposed to be a good person. Why is he smoking? And then you're just like, wait, what? I'm just smoking. First of all, I never force you to have a certain perspective on me. This is just who I am. So no, Rose, your point on that, I agree. Wow, that was good.
Yeah. And so some of the stuff that you were saying initially, Jordan, made me think of Hero Academia. I actually wrote down this quote, funny enough, but not to talk about it. But it illustrates a lot of my points and my perspective. Like when we finally have an episode when we, you know, talk about Hero Academia and Andrew Tate. It was, so I'm not going to give you context, Jordan, so we don't ruin the show for you. But Rose will know where the quote is from, along with people who are caught up in Hero Academia. I didn't force her to do anything. It was her will. People who experience setbacks in life are called, quote unquote, villains. Even if they extol quirks and individualism, in the end, it's a regulated society. Those who don't fit in are ostracized. There are no exceptions. Democracy or socialism, the rights are the same. It's a problem from before society. It's a principle of living in groups. And that's from All for One. And that's exactly how I feel.
All for One's he's sick, bro.
Yeah, and he has, as much as, and this is the reason why I wanted to talk about him in relation to Andrew Tate. as much as um he is bad and he does bad things, if he really was that bad, he wouldn't have that many followers. And I
He's
think
the
that's exactly what goes on in the Hero Academia society, right? If he really was wrong, there wouldn't be these people who are in alignment with these disenfranchised people. And that's just as we're all in adulthood, we all know that there's always going to be disenfranchised groups. No matter what, there's always going to be people who fall in between the cracks. Even in terms of where I work, sometimes some of the young people fall in between the cracks. You know, someone will have forgot to send an email, and now that kid is waiting for the support that they need for housing for 8 months. Now they're homeless. It doesn't take much for someone to just fall in between the cracks, and that's just the reality of things. The only thing we can really do is do our best to acknowledge it and rectify it as soon as possible. Exactly. But really and truly, you can't stop problems from happening in society. You know, with before it was people of the African diaspora with having rights, then there's women, then it's gays, queers. Like there's always going to be gaps, no matter what it is. Right now, we're dealing with men, falling in between the cracks right now in terms of school system and whatnot. Is just what it is, and it just happens. It's an unfortunate thing, but the only thing we can really do is acknowledge. I think the first thing is acknowledgement, and from acknowledgement comes rectifying and healing. But if nothing's really acknowledged, then it creates more and more resentment. You saw that with Gyotaro and Daki. There's even like a really good quote. I don't know if I have it written down, but where was it? I don't have it written down, but basically, oh, there it is. You're wrong about that. Horrible things. This is both Daki and Gyotaro from the last season. You're wrong about that. The horrible things done to us, the things that made us suffer, we do them back to others and collect on those debts. We can never make up for our own misfortune unless we collect it from the blessed. And that's just what it is. We often see people who are into all sorts of crimes, burglaries, robberies, kidnappings. Like Jordan and I, we regularly say this in every episode. Morality doesn't exist in scarcity. When you're trying to survive, there's no such thing as doing the right thing, quote unquote. There's no such thing as helping someone else. I don't know what's going to be happening to me tomorrow. Why should I care about someone else? That other person doesn't matter. And it makes me think of even what Shinobu said. You know how like Shinobu, I won't go to it. Rose knows like more of her history, but she has a lot of trauma and tragedy when it comes to demons. And she's like, I want to build a relationship with demons as much as my sister wants me to. But there was a really key thing that she pointed out. She said, demons only lie and hurt others to preserve themselves, which in other words means they survive. They're trying to survive.
You know what I mean?
If you're trying to survive, you're going to do everything it takes.
That's
it's
just
when you learn to thrive.
Nature.
That's what it is. Right? If you're trying to survive, you're not trying to think of the person next to you, your neighbor. They don't matter. If everything came down and you saw how people were fighting for toilet paper 2 years ago.
And I think that's the difference between regular demons and the Kizuki, and then on top of that, the lower and upper moons.
Talk about that.
Let's go.
Because demons in general are the ones that are living in scarcity, and then let's say you have the lower moons. You're just starting to break ground. You know what I mean? You just started to get a taste of a better living within your new life, within your circumstance, within your desperation. You have found a rhythm that works. Not that
an unhealthy one, exactly.
Yeah, not that the chaos has stopped, but your functionality has improved.
Yeah,
in like insurmountably. Yeah. And then now you have the upper moons who they're thriving. So I think that's, and you can kind of see it that Daki and Gyutaro, what were they? They were 6.
They were 6.
I don't believe, and that's interesting in itself because that means that they're on the cusp. right?
Mhm.
And especially with the fact that they're sharing the label as the sixth means that, and like either they're on equal footing or one's higher than the other. And we seen that Gyutaro was higher than Daki, right?
Yes, very much.
So where was I going with this? Damn.
Well, the lifestyle, like
Yeah, there's a difference between demons and the lower six.
Right. So because they weren't able to reconcile and come to a consensus with themselves, I don't think they fully became like true upper moons
Mhm.
I want to speak on that. Go on.
to be able to thrive, because they weren't able to, I guess, take their new benefit and create a new system that's going to benefit them more. They got lost in the sauce.
Yo, we need to have Prince Rose back in Wars again.
He's cooking right now. And
cooking.
you know what? I think that there's some truth to it in two aspects. So I think it's a matter of number one, habits. So, for example, when you look at people who just started off being demons, they don't have the habit of very demonic behaviors, right? So they don't know exactly their lifestyle just yet. So, meaning that they don't know exactly, they can't really climb to the upper echelon of demonic reputation because they never formed that habit. They're still living their life as a human, right? They still have a humanistic perspective of their situation. Whereas now, what you just said, the demons, right? The demons, they've been demons probably for a while. Like we can look towards the doctors, right? So she been living a consistent lifestyle, so she knows exactly what she needs to do in order to climb that social ranking, because she's been exposed to many other form of demons. But at the same time, I guess she just decides to not wanting to climb that upper echelon. So the thing that's very interesting between the two I see is they're both, and exactly what you said, right? They're both participated within the system where they have to compete to see who can do the more evil. One of the things I like about Tanjiro is because he challenges that system. He is saying, okay, I recognize your sin, but is this something that you need to continue to do? Because I see exactly the root cause. And the root cause here is not necessarily the sin itself, because I can go outside right now and sin, right? But it's not really the sin itself that defined me. It's the behavior behind that sin. So probably I was at a position in my life where I wasn't getting attention. I wasn't getting enough love, which caused me to sin. So this is what Tanjiro does to challenge such a system, right? He's saying, okay, so what? You commit crime. It's not right. But so what? You're still human, because you're a human before you're a demon. Now you just happen to morph into this demonic species, but on a fundamental core, you're still human. So that's the way I see things. So you kind of have this demonic structure that's going on. And if you want to climb the ranking on this, they know exactly what to do. But then you have someone like Tanjiro who comes along and challenges the whole system. And he challenged the system that was never challenged before.
I going in on that, I think that Tamayo is her name, the doctor, Lady Tamayo.
Yeah, Lady Tamayo.
I think that she should get more credit in the fact that she's actually technically been challenging the system before Tanjiro has.
That's facts.
Because, and I do think that she technically has climbed the ranks maybe higher than anyone other than Muzan. Because
I know, don't spoil it for people, but I know what you're talking about.
No, I'm not gonna spoil nothing. But like just the fact of like she runs her own business and like she's reputable.
Helping people know.
And people know what she does from humans. And if humans know what she does, definitely demons know what she does. And if there's not going to be a lot of demons out there who are happy with what they're doing unless they're trying to reform themselves. So there must have been a lot of people who tried to come and attack her, which is also why she has what's the other guy, the guy's name with
it's like Shiro. It's like I know his name is like.
Is it the assistant?
Yeah, the assistant, right? Okay. And he's weary of everybody because Yeah,
sure.
he doesn't trust
Mhm.
nobody because he knows that so many people are after her, whether you're human or demon. People have something to gain by taking such a big cog in the board out of the game. So yeah, I just do think that she should get more credit in being a pillar in that fight. You know what I mean? She's kind of like, the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps.
Yeah.
Without the title and responsibility, she's like, yeah, I don't care for for your boys club or for your scouts club.
Right.
I'm just doing the work.
I'm doing my thing.
Within my lifestyle. Not that that's not important, not that we
Mm.
don't need heroes,
Mm.
but she's the hero that doesn't need the praise.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
She
I
just is kind of like what you were talking about before.
But Tanjiro is too, but he's just also on the field.
Yeah.
In a different way. Same spirit, different
lifestyle. Yeah. No, you made a lot of good points just now.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about specifically, there's like 3 points I'd go. So one of those things we were talking about Gyotaro and Daki, especially towards the end of their life together, before they get reincarnated. And you saw how towards the end they just started bickering and just were saying hurtful things to each other, just spewing whatever just to hurt each other.
They didn't mean it.
Sorry?
And
they didn't mean it. And this makes me think of a conversation I had with my therapist. It had to do with one of my previous roommates, and we were just talking about the notion of thinking, what was it? Us against the world. And she was talking about how unhealthy that is. Because when you are thinking that the world is out to get both the two of you and whoever your partner or friend is or whatever, you guys put both of yourselves in a victim mindset where everyone is trying to hurt us, versus empowering yourself and changing your circumstance. Everyone's trying to take from us, which is, what both Gyotaro and Daki said, everyone's trying to take from us. And if you're of that mindset, then you're never you're going to learn to thrive. And that goes into my next point. I really appreciate what you're saying about in terms of being a demon and learning to do well as a demon. It's not that different. First, like Gyotaro and Daki make me think of, I've got this stuff from my wife. I don't actually look at this stuff on social media, but it makes me think of Blueface and Christian or whatever.
I don't know her name.
Exactly. Yeah, there we go. And it makes me think of them in the sense of like, yes, they're together and you love each other just the same way as Daki and Gyotaro love each other as siblings, but it's not a healthy love. Like, you can love someone, it could be unhealthy, right? And that's very much of that, where you're just spewing and you're just saying things to each other just to hurt each other because this person's supposed to love me, because the only people that's supposed to hurt me is everybody else.
Yeah.
Versus really.
Yeah, but no, not only that, but what if that's the way they've been showing?
Exactly. But that's exactly
that's what I was gonna say. Right? Like, I think it would be helpful to the people in those types of situations if people like us who are outside of the situations to more say, not that the love is toxic or unhealthy, it's the functionality. It's their functionality within the love. Because like, I get it. I get, like, people say, oh, if you're gonna stay with certain things, there's something unhealthy there. But like, if you're gonna stay when something unhealthy is there, something's good's there too.
Absolutely. And they definitely have each other.
So that's why I think, like, yeah, it's more so the functionality than the love being the problem or being bad or toxic or whatever,
Exactly.
And I think that also brings a person to have more of an opportunity to take more accountability and responsibility for their decisions and actions than to just say
facts.
The love is sour or toxic, because at the end of the day, like, love is not, as much as love is something that you can nurture and garner and all of these different things, it when it becomes alive, it has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? You just get to experience it as the person or the vessel that you are. But like, that goes into a deeper rabbit hole. But like, oh, actually, you know what? It kind of connects. I was gonna ask you something. The fact that Tanjiro is the way he is with the demons, do you feel that it has something to do with his scent, his ability to smell, and that he can kind of smell your emotions and the pheromones that you're giving off based off of your mindset and your literal biochemistry, you know? And similarly with Naruto, he has the crazy sensory abilities because of how emotional he is with his heart. You know what I mean? I wonder that.
Yeah. So there's two parts. There's a lot. But the one thing I want to say though before we transition to Tanjiro is what you were saying about the 12 Kizuki and them learning to do well.
Yeah,
it's still in an unhealthy. They still have a lot of unhealthy habits, and it makes me think of the celebrities that everyone looks up to, like whether you're talking about Johnny Depp, whether you're talking about Blueface, or whether you're talking about like early Kendrick Lamar.
yeah.
Yes, you've been able to do well, but you haven't learned how to thrive yet. You're still of a survival mindset, and this goes into what we're talking about in terms of Tanjiro. You're having a low vibration.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really doing. You haven't learned how to do well. You're just having a lot of good things happen towards you, which is like like I said, going back on Daki and Gyotaro. Like they're learning. They love each other, but it's not a healthy form of love. They haven't learned how to do that yet in terms of taking care of each other as siblings. It's more of a survival mindset. And then so going on Tanjiro. So to be honest with you, the whole smelling and hearing and whatnot, I think it's a little bit corny. Like I can hear someone sad. Like what? That's stupid. But I the thing that I always do with anime, try not to take things too literally. I think that whether it's hearing, whether it's seeing, whether it's acoustics or whatever, like Tengen had, I think it's just people feeling each other and then being in tune with their observational skills, and sixth sense, if you will, in terms of when they're talking with other characters. You know, like Tanjiro can feel the sadness off someone, rather than be like, yo, forget this person. I don't care about their suffering. They took from me. I'm about to smoke them with his Kinokambi moves. No, he actually has a sense of he can feel their pain. And I think that once you can feel someone's pain and you can truly take the time to empathize with them, it changes your perspective on them. And like I said, I'm someone that works with a lot of young people, and some of them have committed quite. And I have one that's done a house robbery. I have one that's like I said, he's incarcerated right now. I have another who robbed a store, right? You're just in a bad circumstance. You have a Muzan in your life who takes advantage of the fact that you don't have any good support systems. You don't have a Gyu or Urodaki to come in and, you know, snap you into being aware of your circumstance, how to change it. Some people will take advantage of your victimhood and make you commit things that you otherwise wouldn't do to survive. That's what usually it is. Most people aren't. There are people that are bad, and there are people who, when they're in these situations, they can figure out by themselves. Like, I'm sure there's someone in. Yeah, there's ton. There are for sure. There's people like Inosuke. Like Inosuke was in a bad circumstance. He was able to change it himself, right?
I really like Inosuke, man.
Exactly. Like he was able to change the circumstance, but for every Inosuke, there's 50 Gyotaro. That's really what it is.
That's what
for every one Inosuke who's able to change his circumstance from the pain and trauma that he's been to, there's 50 Gyotaro who are committing crimes. Why? Because no one was there for him. So why should they be there for others? Like you saw with the quote, what people made us go through, we're taking from others, and we're taking from people that are doing well because they deserve to suffer because they made us suffer. And that's their mind. That's the mindset. It's as simple as that. Whether it's overt, whether they actually think that, or whether it's more implicit, it is what it is, and it's up to us to once again validate those experiences rather than say you shouldn't. Like even Zenitsu in the fight, Zenitsu, I remember he was saying, because he's one of my favorite characters in the show, he was saying you mustn't do wrong to others, and then that's when they're like, no, we're absolutely gonna do wrong to others. others wronged us, and so we're going to wrong others. I don't know what you're talking about, Zenitsu. That's some bullshit. I don't know what. No, you're stupid.
So just to address the first point, going back to Blueface and Krishan or whatever her
Christian,
name
whatever
is.
her name is. Mhm.
I think that it is hard for us to base on what is right and what is wrong because we don't have the entire information. We just see exactly what they post on social media. For
Mhm.
all we know, they could probably be doing more good than bad,
Mhm.
and the reverse is also true, right? But I guess it's to say we just don't know. I think that a relationship becomes extremely harmful depending on how it manifests itself. So
Absolutely.
What
what
do
I
you mean?
mean by that, is if in a relationship you don't feel secure, you can't communicate to the person in a way where you actually feel
Heard.
like you're not being heard,
Mm.
then I think that the manifestation behind that can easily lead to toxic behaviors.
Agreed.
Right. So that's the way I view relationship. Like I don't think that just because you see two-person arguing, that automatically that these people are toxic.
Oh, absolutely not.
I think that so I think that there's much more there that the public don't see. So this is why I refrain from speaking on the relationship, because we simply just don't know. All I see her is sometimes I think I
Mhm.
saw her crying or something like that. Now we can all make an assumption and
Mhm.
say, man, that looks so bad, and it is bad, right? But then again, we just simply do not know what's actually going on here. For all we
Mhm.
know, she could have been manipulated, or she could have been doing the manipulation, right? We don't know. So that's why I'm not going to speak much about that. But in regards to Tanjiro and his whole set, I think honestly, I think it's just a biological thing. I think that he's probably just born with good scent. Like other people are
Oh
really
yeah.
born with good eyesight,
Mhm.
and other
Mhm.
people are just stronger than others. So I
Mhm.
think that he's just been fortunate enough, or I guess the writer just made him that way to make this show more interested.
Everyone needs a little bit of plot armor.
And
Yeah,
just a
he's got mad
biological
plot
thing.
armor. When Nezuko came in, like burned off the poison, I was like, bruh, come on. Yeah.
So precise. So
I was like,
precise.
come on.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'll let it slide because you just gave us some great episodes just now. But I was like, bro, that's what you're gonna do. The poison, you're just gonna burn it off. Nezuko just happened to develop the ability to burn poison in the last in at the 11th
12
hour.
seconds.
Okay, all right.
I was gonna ask a question.
Yeah.
In regards to I'll just put it this way. Would the world be worse with or without Muzan?
That's a really good question.
Empowers the disenfranchised.
Sorry?
Muzan empowers the disenfranchised. Similar to which, like I said, we'll do in another episode for that. Similar to All for One. I think that there's always going to be disenfranchised people, and as such, it's always going to be people who, quote unquote, lend power or give power to disenfranchised, whether it's gang leaders, military leaders, any sort of criminals, gang leaders and gang members, whatever it is. There's always going to be that. So I would say, in terms of the world of Demon Slayer, it would have been better, but those people would have still been doing bad. Like, what's it called? Like, going back on Gyutaro, he already killed someone. He was already a hired assassin, right?
Yeah.
At that point, who was doing everything to protect his sister. He probably would have been even worse of a person. He wouldn't have been a demon who was able to destroy an entire city by himself, the entire entertainment district, but he definitely would have been committing crimes regardless.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge that, but it's kind of an unfair challenge because it kind of changes up the situation a little bit. When I say without Muzan, I more so mean him as a figure rather than the literal
progenitor of demons.
Yes. You know what I mean? And like, because like without Muzan, is there a Demon Slayer court?
Which is why,
is there still demons or there's not demons?
There's demons.
Okay, there's just no demon progenitor.
There's no demon progenitor.
I'll let Jordan go. I have to think about it for a second.
Yeah, so I'm gonna use an analogy here. I think that I'm not gonna say that evil is necessary or evil is needed, but I will say that certain events that is deemed evil led to favorable events. So,
Mhm.
for example, if it was not for World War II, we wouldn't have had
Microwaves.
yeah, huh?
Microwaves.
Not only not only that, but if it wasn't for World War II, right, we wouldn't have had something called the Marshall Plan, which uh, modernized Western Europe and rallied everyone together against a common
Enemy.
goal, an enemy, right, against an enemy. So I think that is certain events, although unfortunate, has led to good outcome. So in this case, when you think about it, now you have humanity rallying against evil. The same way when you look at Naruto, right? You have
Yeah,
the Madara
I was
and
just about to say that.
yeah, so you have the whole world, all the Kage who have had tensions and didn't want to grow together, had very poor foreign relations with each other. Now, because there's this common enemy they all share, they could come together and actually overcome whatever problem they've had in the past. And I think that's necessary because what's going to happen after that is now, once the evil is eradicated, they can finally have an open dialogue to bring the country or nation forward.
Reconciliation. Right.
Yeah, so I think
To the next stage.
yeah,
I
so to be much more literal, I think a person like Muzan,
yeah.
I'm not going to say that I would want him to exist, but because we have this sort of tendency to overcome evil and then be better than what we were, I think that is going to be a situation where the Demon Slayer world is going to be much more better once he's gone, because they're going to realize that look what we've been through. Now we can move past from this and build a better.
And evolve.
So that's
Yeah,
the way I see it. So to answer your question, I think that now, because he already exists, I think that it will definitely be better once they take care of him.
for sure. I definitely hear your perspective. I kind of relate that to, like, I know that you brought up Madara, but I'm going to take it even further back. Before Konoha was fully formed,
Mhm.
I would look at that version of Madara as Muzan, and in this perspective, and Hashirama would be the Demon Slayers. And it's like everything was in just chaos before that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Before someone said, you know what, I'm just going to gather up all the people who are just doing bad and steer them in the direction I want them to go. You know what I mean? And like, without that, like I said, it would have just, everyone would have just been warring with each other, maybe up until Naruto's born, if he even gets the chance to be. You know what I mean? With what Madara did slash Muzan is building, or whatever the case, like you said, it gives people a chance to see something and decide to overcome that or walk a different path from that. And naturally, it's just going to breed, more and more, I guess, situations and
Mhm.
opportunities for growth, through the depths that already exist, because they do, you know, we're all
Yeah.
Yeah. And
capable
not
of
only that,
being.
I think that sometimes in life it takes a great amount of evil for us to realize what we actually had and what we can possibly have in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people really don't realize this. So, for example, I in relationships, you could be going through some traumatic experience, but
Yeah.
if you guys come together and work your differences, then that relationship could turn out to be amazing, like you never thought it could be, because you guys work out through that problem. So I
Learning
think
to
that
thrive.
yeah, so I
Mhm.
always think that with problems, there's always a silver lining with problems
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
that people must consider.
It's opportunity,
Yeah, it's an
and like
opportunity.
and just like we were saying it like before, everyone is on that hero's journey, regardless of whether you make the call to action or not. From the moment you're born, you're on the hero's journey. You don't have a choice. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Have you
So,
read Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey? I'm just curious.
no,
But you know of it?
I more so know of the print of the Horus story.
Mhm.
And that's the original hero's journey. That's where the name hero comes from, or Heru, Horus.
Oh, okay. This man
So
has knowledge. Yo, Prince, keep cooking.
Mhm.
I won't stop you. Keep cooking.
I forgot. That's just I just
Okay.
go like that.
Okay. So good to know. So with that being said, I just want to ask you guys, who are your favorite characters in Demon Slayer?
Shoot.
I have 3. It was the first anime where I was just like, I actually can't select one. Like with Naruto, like
I
said,
never
with
select one.
It's Rock Lee. No, usually I just have one. Like usually
I
just this
never.
character hits different. So like for
I
me,
rate you for that.
yeah,
I
it's like
can't do that. I'm too emotional
nah.
of a
Well,
person.
another show that has more than one is Attack on Titan, the t-shirt I'm wearing.
Man,
You'll laugh at who it is. It's Armin and Erwin. Those are my 2 favorite characters.
I'm not laughing at you
Armin
for
and
that.
Erwin.
Like
No,
that,
because like you saw what happened in the remember what happens in
First of
season
all,
3? Both
they're
my
the-
characters nearly die. I'm like,
they're the
what?
same. They are the same character, and it was
Yeah, they
meant
are.
for a reason. I don't think
Fact.
that's bad at all, though. That's. I think it says a lot about the depths of your analysis and what you're capable of analyzing, and it's just cool because that's what they're about as well.
That's why I
You
love
know what
them.
I mean?
Like is the way they're able to analyze and break things down. I'm like, these are the characters.
With all the sick stuff and all the craziness going on and all the reasons for you to genuinely possibly have a different person as your favorite, for you to choose them means you are. I get it. I get
for
it.
sure.
People
cool.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I get it. He has to stay cool and calculated. He's the one who is not letting all the fireworks distract them from making the choice that's going to sustain us.
Facts.
So and without Erwin and Armin, we don't make it past a lot of stuff. So if we don't have you voting for that person to stay on the team, we're not gonna make it. So thanks. Thanks. Because I wasn't gonna vote for them. You know, I wasn't gonna vote for them.
That's fair.
Yeah, listen, I can see Erwin. I can see why he would choose Erwin, but Armin, I'm interested. Why Armin?
I like Armin more than Erwin.
Their analytical skills is ridiculous. Armin takes more risks. No, Armin is more unorthodox. Erwin takes more risks. But I just love the aspect in which because it is the reason why I like Rock Lee, and it goes into why I like Tengen and Zenitsu. It's the aspect of you're not innately talented, but you worked on a certain craft and you learned to hone it to the point where you can make up for your shortcomings with those things. Whether it's Rock Lee and his lack of ninjutsu, whether it's Armin and his lack of physical dexterity, whether it's Erwin and the fact that he's basically not an Ackerman. Like he's a good fighter. He's just not an Ackerman, right? Like, let's be honest. Like if you put him in a fight with Levi's smoking him.
Yeah.
Or even Mikasa, she's smoking him.
Those two will smoke literally anybody in the series,
basically, right? Or even Zenitsu. He can't learn other forms of the tech of the first breathing technique, right?
Yeah.
Like he's learned to enhance it, but I can't do the others. But yo, like it's just like Bruce Lee said, I don't fear the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Yes.
Develop, like, this reason, like I've said this many times on the podcast.
Natural.
I can't learn a lot of characters in fighting games. I usually just one character. That's it. I'm gonna specialize in this one thing. So that's the reason why basically I tried to throw the question to you, but my favorite characters in Demon Slayer, Tanjiro is what I aspire to be every day. Like I think I was talking, Jordan, you and I were talking about it. Like his sense of compassion and empathy. I want to develop that even more as a person to like just everybody and anybody. Tengen, because, and this goes into our conversation about like, the Hashira learning to thrive. Tengen grew up in a very unhealthy family dynamic, and he took that and he transformed that, because that's basically a lot of the conversations me and my wife have. Like, we grew up in a lot of unhealthy dynamics with our families, and as much as we could replicate those things, we don't want to. So it's the constant idea of reworking and changing your family dynamic to be healthier, to do things differently. Like, even Tengen, he's like, I beat a upper moon, I'm retired. Even if he didn't lose his hand and all that stuff, he's like, I was gonna retire no matter what. I'm not.
Yeah.
Because like me
I'm
continuing to
good.
fight, exactly. Me continuing to fight, I'm only perpetuating, even if it's for a good reason, I'm perpetuating whatever my family was already doing. But me choosing to retire from the battlefield, that means I'm changing things different, not only for me, but for my wives. And that's the reason why, like, I'm a huge fan of Tengen, along with him just not being talented either. And then finally Zenitsu, he just honed his own skill and specialized in it. Like, bro, every scene Zenitsu does, I went crazy. Like, when he first did like Sixfold, against the Spider Brother.
Yeah.
You saw the light. I was like, whoa! I remember I called one of my boys about it.
The thing is, he is talented. He's just he's
in a different way.
He's his own blockade.
Just anxious. That's it.
He's anxious,
Absolutely.
bro.
That is it. And the thing with anxiousness is that whatever form it takes, it's going to stop your performance. Like, whether, let's say for example, you're anxious and you play video games, right? You're not going to perform as well as if you're just calm. Basketball, whatever you do while you're anxious, it's actually going to interfere with your performance. But
unless you can enter Mushin.
Even that, right? Even that, because in order to really make really good decision, you have to be in a calm state of mind, at least for most of the time, right? If you were to make a decision while being anxious, then there's a higher chance of you blundering that move, as opposed to if you were calm. That's the way I see things. But my favorite character,
so your favorite character?
My favorite character is actually Zenitsu. I'll tell you
why.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Zenitsu. Now, of course, I don't really relate with his anxiousness, but what his character shows me is that by default, whatever we all try to do, we always have that level of anxiousness. Even professional athlete, they will tell you themselves that before a game start, they are always anxious. They will tell you that they are always anxious. I don't know for you, Eb, whether or not like you go into this big tournament for Guilty Gear, whether or not you feel anxious. I'm probably sure you do feel anxious, right?
Tournaments, like public speaking, I always feel anxious at the beginning,
right? But the way, I'll tell you why his character is very interesting to me, because when trouble comes, and this reminds me of Deku specifically, he doesn't think about it. Subconsciously, he's going to act and overcome that and save that person. Right? So just, I look at his character like this. Okay, I'm scared. Trouble, I don't think about it. I go and do my job.
I act. Right.
I act. And I think that's such a powerful motive when you think about it, a powerful theme when you think about it. Because a lot of people think that, oh, I know if I was to see a bad guy, oh, I'm going to be this big guy and I'm going to take care of it. No, but that's not reality. A lot of people won't do that. In fact, you're going to be extremely anxious.
Fight or flight.
Exactly, fight or flight. And then the only time you're actually going to perform is going to be subconscious decision. You're going to be like, whatever, I'm just going to go. Whatever happens, happens. Right? So that's the reason why I really like his character, because it speaks to our reality in that sense.
That's a great perspective. What about you, Prince Rose? What are your favorite characters, I should say? What? Only multiple.
I do like multiple, but I do like multiple, but I do like Tanjiro more than everybody else.
Okay.
And the reason why that is because, similar to what you were saying about him, and also what Jordan was saying about Zenitsu as well, is like, I think Tanjiro embodies a lot of the characteristics of everybody in the show. It's just that the way that he houses it and allows that energy to flow is different than anyone even tries to think to go about it, like in that way, And the reason why I say that is because, like, with him being as emotional as he is, he's had to learn to take that emotion and kind of like Gohan, use it proper in the right times and
Repurpose it and
circumstances,
focus
right?
it.
So that's similar to actually Zenitsu. You know what I mean? It's just that it's funny. Okay, so I feel as though your subconscious mind is literally what writes your reality, and
Yeah, no, this is true. Yeah,
so and some people are able to consciously tap into their subconscious to manifest with more efficiency. Zenitsu goes into that fight or flight and he falls asleep because he needs to be completely unconscious for his subconscious to
thrive.
take over.
Yeah.
Whereas Tanjiro can still remain conscious and still make subconscious decisions. And that's where I have a different kind of view in terms of like,
I want to speak on something. I want to just add
Go
a
ahead.
small point.
Go ahead.
You're also right about Tanjiro because in the last fight, when his Demon Slayer mark activated, he was unconscious. He
Yeah.
started losing consciousness at that
Mhm.
point. So even at that point, even for him too, when his unconscious was able to activate, that's when he really used to start to thrive as well. But yeah, I just wanted to add that point. Mhm.
Yeah. So damn, where was I?
You're just talking about unconscious and thriving with regards to Zenitsu and Tanjiro. And Tanjiro being able to
Oh, okay.
Speaking
So
Mhm.
what I was saying with the nervousness and I guess being anxious, I feel as though you can benefit from that state of being if you, and that's what I was saying about Mushin, is that you
explain what Mushin is. Talk about that.
like it's like no mind. You know, you don't you're not engaged with the mental part of what's going on. Not that the mental part isn't happening. You are choosing not to engage, and you're choosing you are just being. You are the energy. So you are just flowing through your vessel. And in that sense, it's like, remember I was saying earlier to you that I'm actually kind of nervous. I'm like that with everything. Anytime I'm playing a basketball game, anytime I'm about to perform, public speaking, anything like that, I get so nervous. And I actually really like it because I look at it as free energy. It's, you see, when you said when Zenitsu went into sixth form and it's like,
Yeah.
that energy is inside of you the whole time. It's just that the circumstance to cause you to be nervous gave you a catalyst to activate it, and it was just subconscious. But if you can recognize that that process is happening and allow the energy to flow where it wants to and needs to flow, you don't have to think about it, you just do it.
Right.
And I think that that is very, like, that's a big part of water breathing, you know, and that's another reason why Gyu is the way he is. And he's like, bro, kill him. Like, that's what we do. We just, that's how we flow. And that's his mindset. His mindset is a constant, I'm not stopping to dock. I am the water.
I'm gonna just keep going. Right.
You know what I mean? And this, you know, so in that sense. But yeah, Tanjiro is my favorite because of that, you know. And there's other similarities that he has with other characters and stuff too. I would say even that's why Rengoku took to him so much, is because they actually have the same fire.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I know what you mean by that as a manga reader too. Right? I know what you mean by that too.
And you know that one point where in the when they're on the train and the kids were trying to get into their subconscious, and
that part hit hard for me. Go on.
Right. And Rengoku's was so on fire.
Hot.
I also think that as much as it was a contrast for Tanjiro's to be so peaceful, it was also a mirror, because if a fire, what's the when a fire burns so hot, it'll turn white. And then right, and at that point, everything else ceases to exist within its space. It becomes the flame as well. And like, in a sense, he is so still because he has so much fire and he just lets it be what it is.
Mm.
So I actually look at Rengoku's subconscious place and Tanjiro's subconscious place as
Mm.
kind of the same thing.
Mm.
You know,
Interesting.
just
Hold on.
Tanjiro has a different way of harnessing that same energy. You know,
I
Sorry,
want to
what
say
was that?
I definitely want to say two. First of all, two things. The number one thing was you give a very good take on how the subconscious and conscious, and I think that I can agree with you in that sense that Tanjiro is much more conscious and he's able to tap into the anxiousness and his subconscious to a certain degree and harness that power
Mhm.
and be the demon slayer that he is. But you also say something else that's very interesting. You said that Tanjiro happens to kind of have a piece of everyone else, which makes him Tanjiro, I guess, a complete demon slayer in this regard. So
Mhm.
he has the anxiousness, of course. He has the fury from Rengoku. He has the courage from I forgot the guy with the Hinosuke. He has the
Mhm.
courage from Hinosuke.
Yep.
So he has every element from everyone else, and I think
Yeah,
that's
And
Shinobu's anger.
yep, Shinobu's anger. He has the work
yeah, he has a
ethic of
Shinobu.
Tengen.
So
He has
that's a,
the forgiveness and the gentle nature of the head of the demon
Yep.
slayer core himself.
that's a beautiful way of seeing it. Now I want to ask you this because although you do mention that he grabs little elements from each character, but those characters are flawed, right, to a certain degree. So, for example, Zenitsu, Zenitsu,
Zenitsu.
Zenitsu.
Yeah, Zenitsu, he is not courageous when he is conscious,
Mhm.
right? To a certain degree, that can also be viewed as a flaw, although it can also be viewed as a strength, the anxiousness, which you stated, right? You can
Mhm.
take the anxiousness and turn that into
Repurpose
and
it.
harness that power, right?
Exactly. Yep.
But it also can be a weakness in that whenever a situation demands you to be courage and you can't tap into your subconscious because there's been cases like that and he just runs away, right?
Mhm.
So my question is for you, Rose, is what are Tanjiro's flaws? Because other characters we can clearly see their flaws, right? With Hinosuke, he's not rational at all.
I
He
would
just loves
I
fighting,
can
right?
speak on that, but I'll let Prince Rose go first.
so
So what are his flaws then?
I technically don't think that Tanjiro has any flaws, although I do feel his character is a accumulation of everybody else's flaws. Everybody else's flaws to put together is what Tanjiro is, but it doesn't make him flawed. It just that's just what he is. And like it because he is those things, he doesn't because he doesn't just have one flaw and he is the accumulation of all the flaws. He gets that much more of a benefit from overcoming the flaw, because they put it this way, it's like your flaw is actually your superpower, because you're the video game. When you start the video game, they're not going to give you your best move maxed out. They're actually probably going to start that at the very lowest. You have to build that up for it to be the superpower.
And have
You
the
know what I
right
mean?
attitude.
Exactly. So the fact that Tanjiro has everybody's flaw as his core personality, he's not flawed. He's just in the process. And the fact that he never, ever, ever runs away from any part of the process, I don't feel like I don't feel like it's fair for anyone to put that flawed label on him, because
I got a challenge for that.
What's up?
Yeah.
I would say, and so there's a lot to say about Tanjiro.
Mhm.
I would say his greatest flaw, and you saw that once again with the Gyotaro and Daki fight, it's his compassion.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
There was two moments where he could have, especially with Gyutaro in the I think the second to last episode, where he could have cut off his head, but he hesitated because he saw himself in Gyotaro. And I think that's a great thing about Tanjiro, because not only does he have a fault, and I think it goes
I don't
back
think
into a
it's a
lot.
fault though.
But that's also I just wanted to add a point to that in the sense of, and I think that this goes to like the entire Demon Slayer core. They may have a fault, but they're very self-aware of whatever it is. They're very self-aware of how they feel, how they're reacting, or how they're processing things. Whether I'm thinking of Rengoku, and the lack of acknowledgement he didn't get from his dad, Shinobu, and her anger towards her circumstances and what demons have done to the people that she's cared about. Tengen and his habit of comparing himself to others. Zenitsu and his fears or anxiousness, whichever word we want to choose. I think there's a lot of awareness that comes from the characters. Even I can't think of it right now, but I'm sure Inosuke is aware of like how impulsive he's normally is. A lot of the characters are aware of those flaws. Tanjiro has a great sense of compassion, but it also doesn't really hold him back. It makes him hesitate, but that hesitation, and I think this goes back into what you're also saying too, Rose, it also lends towards his strength once again, because it allows him to reconnect with the demons and help them find their humanity again. As much as like there were moments where he hesitated to cut off a demon's head, and even at the beginning of the show, right, like Urokodaki was just like, this guy can't become a demon slayer. This guy's
I was going to bring up this point,
way too soft and sensitive.
And like that's I think that the reason it's necessary to shift the paradigm.
That's what I was about to say, because as much as like, yes, and this is one of the other reasons why I connected to I almost said Deku, Tanjiro, is because
similar,
right? Is because growing up growing up and not being the traditional African Caribbean son, like I've talked about it in our episode on Deku and Rock Lee. I didn't like to play sports. I wasn't very physical. I just really wanted to like draw and play video games. I didn't want to like play sports and stuff like that. So I really connect with Tanjiro in terms of what it means to be a man, but also sensitive and caring, and having a very healthy balance of what that means. You see how at one point he's unwilling to kill the first demon he runs into, but he's also the same person who fully said, where is it? I'll bring my blade down on any demon's neck without mercy. But as for those whom being a demon meant despair, those who regretted their own actions, I will never trample over them, because the demons were once human too. Just like me, they were human too. And he has that, and this goes back into our like the episode I did in the past on Demon Slayer. Tanjiro has a great sense of compassion, empathy, but he has a boundary to it because he's aware of it. He's like, I can't get anything done if I'm going to feel bad for every demon. At the end of the day, they committed wrong. Even there was a great poem where he was fighting the tambourine
the
demon
guy.
Kyodai, Kyodai, and he's like, Kyodai, the first thing he did was he never stepped on his musical notes when fighting.
He's like, Regin, your stuff is so tough.
That's what he said. He's like, your music was beautiful, but what you did was wrong. That's so powerful to acknowledge, because that's what Kyodai just wanted, but Musa never gave it to him. I just want to be acknowledged. And he's able to do that, but at the same time, he was still clear in saying, like, what you still did was wrong.
I got to cut you down.
Facts.
But see, there's another thing too. It's like, if what's his name again?
Which one?
The drum demon?
Kyodai.
So if he decided to just stop attacking Tanjiro, I don't think Tanjiro would have killed him.
Facts. Which goes into why he, like, sometimes he gets like arrested by the Demon Slayer Corps. That's what regularly happens to him. But no, you're right. You're right about that.
I also bring that into his fight with Daki and Gyutaro, like, because his hesitation is coming from the fact that they aren't decided in who they were, and Tanjiro could still sense that.
Yeah, and explain a little bit more.
So Tanjiro's proclamation of saying, like, I'm gonna chop down every demon, but for those that I can see their suffering, clearly they're not a demon, so I'm not gonna cut them down. So for him to even have that proclamation means that it's within his senses
Mhm.
to I guess scope it out when it's close to him.
Mhm.
And I think that is what creates the moments of hesitation more so than it being a flaw
A
within
blind
its
sense of
character.
compassion.
You
Interesting.
know, it's more so an opportunity to stay true to himself. If he doesn't hesitate, is he him?
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Did he
Yeah,
change?
yeah.
Is he a demon in human form?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because he sensed something and just decided to disregard it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And like also at the same time, I also feel it discredits Tengen to not hesitate because that means he doesn't
Yeah,
feel
what do you mean?
he doesn't respect Tengen's capability enough to remain himself, for Tanjiro to remain himself in the battle. He for him to not hesitate means that he feels he has to compromise his values because he's worried about the capabilities and everyone else's safety. Whereas him hesitating and staying true to his values, I don't think subconsciously he knew he wasn't going to die because he had help.
Mm.
It might have cost Tengen an arm, but subconsciously he probably knew he was going to do that. And as a matter of fact, he did know he was going to do that because the reason why Tengen even lost his arm with that is because he tried to make the exact same block that he already did.
Mm.
And Gyutaro learns as he fights. So if you notice, the first time he blocked it with the thing, and the second time Gyutaro changed his attack pattern in a way to make, because he knew that Tengen was gonna, the same way you scope people's abilities, he knew Tengen was gonna block in a certain way, arm gone.
Mm.
But also subconsciously, I feel like Tanjiro had to have known something like that is gonna happen.
Mm. So having faith in others in a way.
And exactly. And at the same time, too, if for Tengen to even lose his arm, knew that he knew Tanjiro was going to act like that anyway, or else he wouldn't have been there to make up for that.
Right.
You know, so it's like it's all in its place. You know, so I just don't look at anything as a flaw in that sense. You know.
Now I want to say something to this because a lot's been said, right? So first I want to speak about the whole so there's this idea of the harm principle. Of course, you only stop someone if they're going to commit harm to other people, right? So you definitely see this. So you definitely see this with Tanjiro. The only time he's willing to stop someone, or especially a demon, is if that demon continues to do harm or continues to kill. But of course, if you were to express yourself in a way where you changed, or you're going to stop committing crime or regret, exactly. That's a beautiful one. That's a huge one.
Actually, I think remorse more than regret.
Remorse, you can add that too. I think that's one he's going to consider and not continue to bother you or even kill you, right? If you express those feelings. Now, whether or not compassion is a weakness, I think it can be, and let me explain why. Because I think that any good emotion can quickly turn into negative. So you can have confidence, you can be confident, and you can also be overconfident, right? You can be nice, and you can be way too nice to the point where you to the detriment of your own self. So this is where the idea of the nice guy comes along, right? So the nice, it's not that people hate nice guy. It's the fact that nice guys are willing to tolerate anything.
No boundaries.
There's no boundaries. So then you're open to being used. You're open
Taken
for
advantage of.
disrespect, and people just won't take you serious anymore, right? Even though there's absolutely nothing wrong that you did. And you're not wrong for being nice. And you should never feel wrong that you're nice to people or even overly nice, right? It's just a human nature. You're going to come across those people that's going to try to take advantage of those emotions.
Muzan.
Now, compassion in this sense, I think that generally with Tanjiro, it is not a weakness
For sure, because he'll beat the brakes off of you.
But there's been some scene. There's been some scene where it has been a weakness. There's been a scene where it has been a weakness, right? And that scene is definitely, I think, was it the first episode? It was the first episode, and when he hesitated to cut off the neck of the spider demon.
Yes. Now that was his call to action.
No, but
which
remember,
spider demon? Are you talking about the spider mom or Rui?
No, the one on the train.
The one on the train.
I was thinking before that. I was thinking like,
you mean
I forgot his name. Does he have like purple hair or something like that, or grayish?
Oh, are you talking about
hair or something
like I hate Enmu.
You talking about Enmu on the train?
Yeah. So there was a hesitation. There at one point there was a hesitation where he decided that, okay, you know, I actually have to really kill this guy because he's going to continue on. I think that generally his compassion is not a weakness, but there's been some situation where it has been proven to be a weakness. Definitely first episode where again, you mentioned his name, but I forgot his name.
Describe who?
The person who kills the demon in front of him on the very first episode in the snow.
Tamioka.
Oh,
Giyu. Yeah, Giyu. So his name is Giyu. Yeah. So, and he tells him, he's like, if you hesitate or if you're compassionate to them, you're gonna die, right? Essentially, you're going to die. And I don't think that he was wrong in saying that. And I was going to say that
Giyu had a point. And
yeah, he had a point. And is that for every single case? Absolutely not. I think that there's going to be some cases where if you actually do hesitate, let's say, for example, you're at war or whatever the case may be, because he is at war with the demon and you hesitated, someone's going to shoot you and you die. Right. And that's the fatal, and that's a mistake on your part, right? That's essentially a weakness right there, because how are you going to be on the battlefield, but yet you're going to be hesitant to try to kill the person? Now, you also did say this. You said he doesn't see them as a demon. I'm going to disagree with that.
Tanjiro, right? You're saying
so Tanjiro. So he said Rose said that he doesn't see Tanjiro as a demon. I'm going to disagree with that. I think that he does see them as a demon with flaws, though. He sees them as a demon, but he also sees them as a person, also as a human, a demon and a human. But he tries to see more of the human side. When I say demon, is more of the sin. So he sees the sin of the demon, but he doesn't necessarily.
They aren't their
sin. Yeah. So it's not like he doesn't go about saying, well, no, when I look at you, I don't see a demon. No, he does see the demon. He actually does acknowledge a demon, because one of the most toxic thing you can do is not acknowledge someone's shortcoming or sin. I'll give you a good example. And I'll tell you why that's really toxic. I remember when I was at a very low point in my life. Very low. This is, I don't even think I graduated high school yet, looking back. And I remember one of my friend came over and he said this to me. Prior to him coming over, actually, there's been so many people who just said, it's okay. It's going to be okay. You're all right. That's the last thing I want to hear. I'm all right when I know that I'm not all right. And you're telling me that I'm all right. So you don't even see that part of me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you don't even see that I'm not fine. Because you want that acknowledgement that you want someone to say that, of course, not in a rude way, but I understand that you're in this situation, but this is how you can move along, or this is what you can do from now on. You're not going to be in that state for too long. Don't worry, because you have the strength, you have the girth, you have the mentality to overcome that problem. But I believe in you and I know you can do it. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just dismissing the person's problem and saying, oh, well, I'm not going to acknowledge that. I'm just going to say you're going to be fine. So I do think that he sees them as a demon, but that's not his focus. The focus is not necessarily the sin, because he can just say, well, I'm just going to kill you now, right? Because you killed a lot of people, right? He could just focus on that. And he could be angry at the fact that that's what you're doing. But for him, it's more of a, man, yeah, you did something bad. Are you willing to change?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to go beyond the killing? Are you willing to go beyond the sin? And that's what makes Tanjiro really powerful compared to the other demon slayers. And that's the thing I really like about it, right? So, my point is that what I'm trying to say, and what I'm trying to say is that there is a level of disrespect also in not trying. And this is to the point where you mentioned about the drum demon being acknowledged. I think there is a level of disrespect when the person thinks that they're not being acknowledged. I think that you see
Talking
that in
about
many
Kyodai, right?
I think that you see that in many anime when you think that the other person is not trying, in a sense, it's saying that I'm better than you and I don't need to try. So I could see how the drum demon will be mad if Tanjiro's not trying, especially in the fight. The one comparison I can think of is, especially in My Hero, right? Deku and his best friend. At one point he said, "Wait, but so you had this power all along and you weren't trying?" And he got so mad.
To Shoto.
Yeah, Shoto. So he got so mad. He's like, "Like, what do you take me? Do you think you're better
And
than
Deku,
me?"
he did that. Bakugo reacted that way to both Todoroki and Deku.
He's like, "Do you think you're better than me? Like, who are you? Like, who do you think you are?" So I think that when you're going all out, it's a level of respect. It's saying, I recognize your skill set because I've also trained really hard, and that we're gonna fight an equal battle. Whoever wins is better. Because if you're not trying, then if that person wins, you could just be like, I wasn't trying. It doesn't matter. I wasn't trying.
So do you feel like are you saying that you feel Tanjiro is disrespecting Kyodai?
If he doesn't go all out, I think it's a level of disrespect. Yeah. So if they decide that they're going to fight,
what I was looking for, right? To know that he was a worthy opponent, to know that his music was actually something that was value to it, which in this case was a fight.
Exactly. So it's the way I see it is like this: if Tanjiro wasn't, if he didn't try during that fight, he didn't go all out. It is a form of disrespect towards his competitor, because if you're,
but he didn't go all out.
Yeah, he did. But I'm saying in a scenario,
he didn't.
He didn't, right?
Because if he just stepped on that nigga's or that guy's stuff.
No, speak. Don't hesitate.
Bro, if he went in and stepped on his stuff, like it would have been, he would have had to do less. He would have had a lot more pockets to actually operate within his swordsmanship. If he just stepped on it.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point on that.
You know, so but I don't think that I actually think that he was really respecting him again, and I'm bringing it back to the fact that he's not sacrificing his values for nobody. For nobody. And he respects himself that much that he is able to give the respect to not trample all over his things, but still take it seriously enough that he still has to get his job done. But just like he said, like, I think he can sense that there's something that they're reaching out for, and the fact that he's not stepping on the stuff, but he's still going through with what he has to do is showing him, listen, like, I'm acknowledging you, but I'm also acknowledging you, because the same way I'm not turning a blind eye to your beautiful music, I can't turn a blind eye to your massacres.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know?
If I was on the receiving, so if I was on the receiving end here, right? And someone, even if I know, let's say, for example, let's just make this argument saying that they don't have to try as hard and they can still beat me, I would still feel disrespectful. I would feel disrespected. And let me tell you why. I would want you to try your hardest. Like, for example, if I was to play Ebb in Guilty Gear, I know he's gonna, by default, he's gonna try to go easy on me, right? No, I don't want that. I want you to go your hardest at me.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, because it's like, if you're restraining yourself, it comes to the point where, number one, it won't be as fun. Number two, I know it won't be as fun also if you're kicking my ass. But at least if I was to beat you, I can say that I know that you tried and I know I'm the better player.
And you beat him at his best.
and I beat him at his best. But if I was to beat him and he told me I wasn't trying, and this happened many times with my siblings, right?
Mhm.
He's way better than me at 2K. But when I would beat him, he would just say, "Oh, I wasn't trying."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
and, and then it's like, do you
Don't.
know how you feel after that?
Yeah,
For me,
it
it's like,
it it, it
hell.
dilutes your victory for sure.
Yeah, and then
Ye-
I'm just like, okay, you weren't trying. So what was I doing for the past 45 minutes? Because it's essentially time you're also
Yeah.
wasting.
So
So
I feel in that sense like it for the drum demon in this instance, it would come down to him making a decision as to what it is that he actually cares about, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that at the root of it, what he actually truly cared about was his music. He
Being
wasn't
acknowledged.
being acknowledged for his music. He's not a warrior. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
he's
that
trying
if
to win.
right, I think that if he was a warrior and it was a warrior spirit that Tanjiro sensed rather than an artist spirit,
Yeah.
I don't think Tanjiro would have made the effort to not step on his work. I think that he would have went like you're asking and saying, all out as a warrior. But like I said, I don't think that Tanjiro that's what Tanjiro sensed from the demon. I think that, like I
Mhm.
said, he sensed that this guy is just an artist who got
Mhm.
strung along into this situation because of his circumstance, and now he's just so far gone that he's doing these things. You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
I think that two things can be true as once here.
Absolutely, for
Yeah,
sure.
so I think that you're right. I do also agree with you that he definitely wants to be acknowledged first. Maybe, who knows? But I also think that because he's in the position that he is, his drumming made him stronger. So by default, he's also a warrior, right? Because he's also killing people. He's also fighting other demon slayers.
Mm.
I think to jump in on this, I think he's an artist who's trying to be a warrior.
Yes,
Because at the end of the day, he
through his
couldn't fit into
artistry.
the 12 Kizuki, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't able to keep up with Rui and the others, right?
Because
Eventually, that's what
he's not a
caused.
killer.
Exactly. He
He's an
really
artist.
wasn't. He just really and truly, he was just the reason why he was in the 12 Kizuki in the first place, and he was forcing himself to eat the Marinet or whatever kid is
Mhm.
because he just wanted to be acknowledged. He
And
was
he
just looking
had
for
the
acknowledgement.
potential, and he had the potential
He had
for it.
some
It's
potential, but
just
he's nowhere near Akaza or Gyutaro or Rui, right? At the end of the day.
he would have benefited to be around Lady Tamio.
There you go.
Mhm.
Right. But he was looking for that's all he was looking for. And once he got acknowledged, that he was able to pass on. I think he was even crying too.
That's
when
what
he
I'm
died. Yeah.
saying. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
he was crying at the end of it, right? Because he finally got what he was looking for that Muzan refused to give to him because you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Yeah.
being judged on his ability to fight, but he really and truly,
a
like, as
fighter.
much as he can to some extent. I mean, he was a former 12 Kizuki, but at the end of the day, he wasn't. He couldn't keep up with the rest because that's not who he was. He was
And
just trying.
that is a feat in itself.
There you go. Right.
You know, that's a feat in itself. Imagine winning the 100-meter sprint and you run on your hands.
This guy.
You know what
That's
I
a
mean?
good analogy. That's a good
This
analogy.
guy, bro.
But yeah, Tanjiro really just reminds me of how I want to have a greater sense of empathy towards others, but a greater sense of boundaries in terms of, and I kind of wanted to bring this towards Prince Rose on this. He doesn't see, and it's just going based off what Jordan said. He sees the demons. He says you are not your sins. You're not your wrongdoings. You're someone that did bad. And I won't go too much into your stuff. You can expand if you want, but like as a family man, you don't want to tell your kids. And this is something like I heard my sister talk about, is that she doesn't tell her kids that they're bad.
Yeah.
She says that they did something bad.
Yeah.
There's two different things versus tying someone's identity to their wrongdoings, which is typically what we see the demon slayers do. Tanjiro's like, yeah, you did wrong, but you did bad things, but you're not a bad person. And I don't know if that's something that you can kind of speak on as like a family man, if you want to expand on that.
Absolutely. I think that within my own experience, I've had a lot of different just things that I've gone through in my life that showed me that I am not the things that I do. You know what I mean? The things that I do create temporary circumstances for me to have an experience. And gives
Bars.
me an opportunity to
Mhm.
keep
Guy really
doing
does
different
rap.
shit. You know, so in that sense, it's like, yeah, I've had to pick myself up from doing bad. You know what I mean? I've had to break habits that don't serve me or the people I say that I care about. You know, and that takes a lot of just honesty and a drive for reconciliation,
Mm.
you know, and that also brought me to just improving on myself.
Mm.
And also, like, with me improving on myself, I start to, and I can even relate to the demons in a sense, because you're improving on yourself, you want the acknowledgement. You know what I mean? You want people to, and it may not even be the acknowledgement. You just want people to see. But like, how do you know people see if they don't acknowledge you? You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that you can't. I did learn that you can see that without the acknowledgement. You know, it's just a matter of reading energy or just understanding how your presence works, and you can understand how your presence works by understanding who you are. You know, and through those things, I started to get a lot better at being myself. I was doing better things. I'm doing good things in bigger quantities and better quality. And with that being said, also knowing that I'm not the good that I do either.
You're
You know
just
what I
you.
mean?
You
I'm just doing
exist.
what I'm doing, you know, and if people are going to categorize it as however they see it, they're going to benefit or not benefit from it however their circumstances set themselves up to like engage with it. You know what I mean? And that's why I said what I said about um you shouldn't be praised for heroic acts. Not
I
that,
wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit,
right? And
in a
yeah,
sense. No,
go
go
ahead.
on, go on.
Go ahead. It's okay.
No, yeah, I just was gonna say, you gave me a bit of insight and intense when I'm looking at the Hashra versus the 12 Kizuki, who almost match up in numbers. When
Yeah.
you look at the Demon Slayer correlate, and as much as like they have their own traumas, like Rengoku and his like father issues, Tengen and his family, his generational trauma, Shinobu and her anger towards demons, the good that they do is good for the sake of it.
Yeah.
None of the things that, like, when Rengoku went to go talk to his brother Kyojuro, he just did it. He didn't have to go talk to his brother and tell him, like, you don't have to be a demon slayer. You just be who you want to be.
Yeah.
He didn't do that to get acknowledgement for his father. He didn't do it to get acknowledgement from the Demon Slayer Corps or their leader. He did that for the sake of, I just love my brother and I just want the best for him. Shinobu, the same thing. I'm going to forgive Nezuko for the fact that she's a demon. I'm going to build a relationship with Tanjiro. I'm going to take care of and nurture them, their skills, not for them to, give me something in return or for me to get some sort of external validation. I'm doing it for the sake of it. Same thing with Tengen. I'm going to change my family dynamic and culture because I want to, not because someone's clapping for me behind the curtains or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm doing this just because. And I think that's the healthy point you want to get to. You want to not, you're not doing good just so people call you good, or to, I mean, feeling good is nice, but like to do it for yourself, to
Yeah.
feel good for yourself, not for others. And that's really the difference, the stark contrast between them and the demons. A lot of them are just looking to be validated.
Yep, for
Which is
sure.
understandable. Like it's important to get validated, but at the same time, if you're constantly seeking for someone like Muzan to acknowledge you and to validate you, it puts you in a space of just like very much the demons, whether it's Susanoo, who's being can manipulate the things she can draw into 12 Kizuki, whether it's Kyodai thinking that if I can just get acknowledged that I'll find by Muzan, people will validate me, whether it's a Rui, and until I can get my family, until I can create my own family, I won't be happy. As long as you're in that mindset of trying to get something from others and for people to give something to you, you're always going to put yourself to be in a space like
You're
they must
in,
be taken advantage of.
you're in that whole consumer cycle.
There you go.
And you know what I mean? And all the different forms that it can take. It doesn't just have to be about consumption with like things that we buy. You know what I mean? A good analogy with that is like those people that you just mentioned, the Shinobus, the Rengokus, and stuff like that, those people are like the people who plant the apple and orange trees, and then the Kizuki are the people who sell the fruits.
Ooh.
You know what
Bars with a dollar sign.
I mean? Because the people who plant those trees are probably never even going to see an orange period.
They say to be a good man is to plant a tree of the shade that you'll never sit under.
You know what I mean? That's and it takes a lot to do that, and that's the type of thing that, this is gonna sound weird, but makes me know that 1 + 1 can equal 3 if you do it right.
Bars,
You know?
with a dollar sign again.
Yeah.
In case people don't know, he raps. He's a sick artist. We'll talk about that.
So definitely, one of the things I want to speak about is what Eb sort of alluded to, and the whole concept behind self-validation. I'm a firm believer, and this is why I don't post on social media a lot. But that's just me, right? Because I'm not an artist, or I'm not a gamer. So I don't have a need to really promote something out there. I feel like if I did, then I'll probably post more. I'll probably post my craft more. But until then, I'm not really a big believer in posting too much on social media for many reasons. Usually if you're not posting for a purpose, like whether that's for your craft, you're just it's more of a, how do I say it? It's more of an ego thing when you think about it. And you're just serving your ego. So you're just serving your ego, and you're reinforcing this behavior that I want to be seen and I want to be acknowledged from other people. The reason why also I don't post is because if I was to just, I don't know, go around and post what I'm doing, it's a cry to be seen when you really think about it. Like I don't see a need for it, because one of the things I used to do is I used to post all the time, right? And then I remember I did a deep self-reflection, and I said, okay, why am I posting this? For what reason? Just so people can think that I'm cool, because that was my big motivator, right? I wanted people to see that I was cool. But I said, why do I need other people's validation to think that I'm cool?
Yeah.
So I had to keep asking those type of questions. And then I took it even further. I said, now I'm not living for myself the more I post. I'm living for other people's expectation.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to do something cool, I'm not going to accept, like, say for example, someone was to invite me somewhere and it's something super cool. Then this is how I used to think. I wouldn't think, okay, I'm going to do this because it's really cool. I'll think like, okay, if I was to do this, then I have something to post. Right. And that was a very toxic behavior. And I had to get rid of this mindset. Now it's been probably 2 years ever since I started doing that. But I said, I had to get rid of that, because self-validation cannot come from external factors. It has to come from within. Right? You have to first validate yourself and not seek it elsewhere. So that's very interesting. And then Rose, you mentioned something very interesting. I think, was it Rose or you, Eb, who said about, you don't call a child, you don't say what you did. You don't call a child bad. You say what you did. It was Eb. That was very powerful. Yeah. And one of the things it reminds me of is how, again, what Rose said about there's no hero, or my interpretation of that was that someone shouldn't be place that label. You shouldn't put that label onto someone. The reason why I'm able to also relate with this is because I was speaking to my professor, and ever since I think it was 2015. Yeah, it was 2015. I've always referred to people who was older than me as sir, right? Just out of self-respect. Literally just out of self-respect, because this guy's like 40 years older than me, right? So I just said sir. No matter who it was, if you were that much older than me, I would call you sir, out of self-respect. And he taught me something very interesting when it came to labels and titles. He said, with labels and titles, what you're essentially saying, there's a hierarchy behind that. And what he meant by that, he said, there's also a dynamic of power. When you say sir, right, you're placing me above you.
Yeah, it's like a submission.
Yeah, it's like a submission, right? You're placing me above you and you're the student. And then he took it even further. He said, there's also been a racial connotation behind that, right? It was always where, the black person will call the white person sir, and they will call you boy. So he always taught me this very lesson. He said, always look at the motivation for why you put a label onto someone, because that's very powerful. If you're calling me sir purely out of self-respect, then that's acceptable. But if you're doing it without realizing why you're really doing it, and you're just reinforcing a sort of societal belief, then that's where it could get really dangerous.
So just a program at that point.
Exactly. You're just being programmed at that point, right? And that program has a history of going way back in the past where there's racial connotation. So no, what you guys are both saying, man, today you guys are spitting. You guys are cooking. So.
Amen. This show gives a space for that. But yeah, with that being said, I think this has been a great conversation.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. Bro, well, first of all, I'm trying to avoid this being 3 hours, to be honest with you. And I think we really covered on why Demon Slayer has been the show that it is, why it's been hitting the numbers it does. Yeah, that we have these great fights like Yotaro versus Tengen and Akaza versus Rengoku and Tanjiro versus Rui. But like that's not really what Demon Slayer is about. It's about the
human part,
the human aspect, the interrelationships between the characters, and what it means to survive versus thrive.
Yes.
How to be a better person, how to be a better man when you look at Tanjiro and Rengoku and Tengen, Zenitsu. How to be
what is humanity?
Exactly. Right? That's really what the show's about, and that's the reason why it thrives so much. But before we sign off on this, Prince Rose, I don't know if you want to start on any of your socials. I know we kind of talked about it. I don't know. I want to give you the space if you want to share.
Yeah, for sure. You said to sign off on the socials and stuff like that?
Yeah, like I'm gonna leave you to sign off on the socials and we'll end it from here.
Yeah, man. Flip. Well, you guys can find me at Prince Rose on IG, and everything else is just at Prince Rose. If you type me in and you don't see me, I'm not on it. it's that simple.
I can't find him. I'm not on it. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Yeah, man. But I love this conversation, yo. The vibe was amazing. It's really great insight and perspective. You know what I mean? That I can take and use to adjust my own and flip and build some stuff too. I appreciate you both, man. Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you coming on, my G.
So much, yo.
Hey man, listen, I'm not gonna end just like this because I feel like it was too short. Like Prince Rose said,
this guy wants every episode to be 4 hours.
Like he said, the vibe was crazy, right? So I definitely just want to end by asking this question, and then of course you guys will answer that, and then we can end. But what do you think the show could have done better?
What do I think the show could have done better?
Yeah, because I think that there's always room for improvements when you think about it. For me, when I look at Naruto, I think what the show could have done better was they could have cut back on the flashbacks. Because it's
I have something for Demon Slayer. Okay. Rose, you know what I mean by that when I say this? Because like if we look at the arcs right now and where we are in, as with the swordsmith arc,
yeah,
we're gonna be done the show by mid to end 2024.
Yeah.
I would have had more arcs to explore more of the Hashira and more time to explore miscellaneous Demon Slayer members, because really we're only spending time with the Hashira, but there's other Demon Slayer members that we see all the time who gets sliced up and dashed up every episode. Like someone will just get turned to like sand, and it's like, damn, what's his name? Doesn't matter. He's sand. So I would have had more arcs in the series, but at the same time, I really do respect both the creator of Demon Slayer and the creator of Hero Academia, because they've learned from Bleach and Naruto and so on and so forth. My show is short.
Micro.
10 volumes. We're done.
Yeah,
Not making a sequel. That's it. But that's the only
Micro.
thing I would have said. Just more arcs, explore more of the characters even more, rather
Yeah.
than, you know, it being like 8 to 9 arcs.
Mhm. So I think an interesting answer for me wouldn't, I'm gonna cheat. It's not exactly, because I don't personally think that they could have done it any better. I would say that there are things that they could benefit from, and it's in alignment with the things that you were just saying. I just feel as though rather than in hindsight retroactively inputting certain things to make it better, I think it would be cool to have a spin-off series, or at least spin-off volumes that you can then adapt into maybe specials, like a 50-minute special or
They do.
hour, you know, things like that, where like then you are diving into those side stories, you know, where Tanjiro is not the main character. He might have an appearance, but it's about a squadron that was battling
Sanemi, the Wind Hashira.
Anybody, you know what I mean? And the platoon that the Wind Hashira took on whatever mission to fight someone who's not in the Kizuki, but is notably strong as well.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case, you know what I mean? And I think that it would be cool to get that. And I think it would actually be cooler to get that than for them to fix or make the series better by trying to implement it in, because I do feel like it would also take away from the intimacy.
Flow.
The flow and the intimacy of specifically that we got to have with the characters they did choose to showcase. You know, I don't think that if they go into the Demon Slayers as much, there's as much room to give the demons themselves the room for us to have the capacity to feel for them.
Facts.
You know? Or it would have been a little bit too one-sided.
Agreed.
You know, especially because we're human already. We're not demons, so we automatically have a human disposition with the way that we're going to think about the show, you know? Right. So same way with how My Hero does a lot of things, they give the villain perspective a lot more explanation than they do what the heroes are doing, because it just creates a better dynamic for conceptualism.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's all.
Okay. All right. I think once again, this has been a great episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we're ended it here.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
Love, guys. Love.